No one expected the stadium lights to flicker that night. No one expected the crowd to fall silent. And no one, absolutely no one, expected the three most electrifying stars of the last decade to walk out together, side by side, as if destiny itself had summoned them. But there they were, Ohtani, Judge, and Trout, stepping onto the field like legends returning home. For a moment, the world seemed to stop breathing. Cameras froze. Fans gasped. And somewhere deep in the shadows of baseball history, a whisper rose. This is the decade that changed everything. But the real story didn't begin tonight. It began 10 long, unpredictable, unforgettable years ago, when the MVP crown passed from hero to hero, each rewriting baseball in their own impossible way. It began with a kid who hit baseballs like he was challenging thunder itself. A man named Mike Trout. The face of a generation, the player who could do everything, and made the extraordinary feel routine. But then the world met someone different. Someone quieter. Someone who spoke through actions, not words. A player who came from across the ocean carrying the hopes of two nations on his shoulders. Shohei Ohtani. The unicorn. The two-way miracle. The man who redefined what a human body could do on a baseball field. And while all this was happening, a giant walked into the Bronx. Aaron Judge. The skyscraper in pinstripes. The man who swung a bat like he was trying to rewrite gravity itself. What came next was a saga, a decade of MVPs that felt less like sports, and more like myth. Each year, a new warrior rose. New records shattered. New storylines ignited. And with every crack of the bat, every roar of the crowd, the MVP crown felt heavier, more powerful, more sacred. Some years, the MVP was unanimous, like destiny had made the choice before the season even began. Other years, the race came down to a single moment. A single swing. A single heartbeat. There were years when Trout reclaimed his throne, reminding the world why he was once called the best on earth. He wasn't flashy. He didn't chase cameras. He didn't need to. His game spoke loudly enough. Then came the Ohtani years, seasons that didn't make sense, numbers that looked like typos, performances that felt like they belonged in a video game. Pitching dominance. Crushing home runs. Speed. Power. Intelligence. He didn't just win MVP. He changed the definition of it. And right behind him stood Judge, the unstoppable force in pinstripes. The man who launched baseballs into the night sky like they were destined never to return. The man who carried New York on his back and dared pitchers to test him. They did, and they paid the price. But the decade wasn't just theirs. There were surprise MVPs, unexpected heroes who rose in the chaos. Players who turned doubters into believers and believers into lifelong fans. Stars who came from nowhere and stunned the world in a single season. There were underdog stories, comeback stories, heartbreak stories, miracle stories, each one adding another layer to the tapestry of the decade. Some MVPs were driven by talent. Others were fueled by pure willpower. And a few, those rare few, were guided by something deeper, something almost spiritual. Through all the ups and downs, all the twists and turns, one truth remained. Every MVP of the last 10 years carried a different part of baseball's soul. Together, they shaped an era unlike any before. Back in the present, the crowd watched as Ohtani, Judge, and Trout stepped closer to the mound, where a spotlight waited like a silent guardian. Three legends. Three eras overlapping. Three stories that converged into one. The announcer's voice trembled as he spoke, not out of fear, but out of reverence. Ladies and gentlemen, behold the giants of the decade. Fans stood. Children climbed onto their parents' shoulders. Old men wiped tears they pretended not to have. This wasn't a ceremony. This wasn't a highlight. This was history breathing in real time. Ohtani looked out at the crowd with that familiar calm, like he was carrying an entire universe inside him but didn't need to prove it anymore. Judge held his cap over his heart, remembering the cheers, the pressure, the enormous expectations that only he could bear. Trout smiled softly, as if all he ever wanted was to play the game he loved, and being called a legend was just an unexpected side effect. The scoreboard behind them lit up, 10 years of MVPs, glowing like a constellation carved into the night sky. 10 years of heroes. 10 years of battles. 10 years of greatness. And suddenly, everything felt connected. Every MVP had paved the way for the next. Every story had built toward this moment. Every triumph had been a stepping stone to the era standing before the crowd now. As the lights dimmed and the music swelled, a quiet realization washed over everyone watching. This wasn't the end of a decade. It was the beginning of a legacy. A legacy that future generations would study, admire, and try desperately to follow. A legacy that wouldn't fade with time. A legacy carved not into stone, but into memory, into passion, into the beating heart of the sport itself. And when the ceremony ended, when the cheers roared across the stadium like a tidal wave, something remarkable happened. Ohtani, Judge, and Trout didn't look at the cameras. They didn't wave. They didn't pose. They looked at each other. Three titans. Three paths. Three lives intertwined by the MVP crown, yet all driven by the same love for the game. Then, they stepped off the field together. Not as rivals. Not as icons. Not as statistics. But as a reminder of what greatness truly is. Greatness isn't the trophies. It isn't the records. It isn't the headlines. Greatness is the story you leave behind. And the last 10 years, they left a story that will echo for generations. A story of fire. A story of heart. A story of impossible dreams made real. A story that teaches us one thing. Heroes aren't born. They are forged, season by season, trial by trial, moment by moment. Until one day, the world looks back and realizes they were legends all along.